cursed house. In the small town of Winterfield, amidst the old and neglected houses, there stood one that was surrounded by legends and fears. The Rivers house, as the locals knew it, was a cursed place, whispered about even by the bravest. The story went that a family once lived there, James and Elizabeth Rivers, and their 2 children, Emma and Michael. One night, a terrible tragedy occurred in the house. Screams echoed from behind closed doors and suddenly stopped, and no one from the family came out again. Neighbors, who called the police, found only empty, blood-soaked rooms. The family had vanished without a trace, and since then, the house had stood as a grim monument to this mystery. Many years passed, and the house became shrouded in legends of ghosts and terrible creatures dwelling within. But no one dared to enter, until one day a group of young paranormal investigators arrived in Winterfield. Tom, the leader of the group, was convinced it was all nonsense. Linda, his girlfriend and assistant, felt an inexplicable dread approaching the house. They decided to spend the night inside to capture evidence of paranormal activity. As they stepped onto the porch, a wave of cold greeted them, and in the dim light of their flashlights, they saw shadows on the walls moving as if alive. Entering the house, they felt the air grow thick and heavy. The house seemed alive, the walls breathing and whispering in an unknown language. They set up camp in the living room and began setting up their equipment. With the first strokes of midnight, the house came to life. From the silence, screams erupted from the upper floor. Linda felt something cold grab her hand, and turning around, saw the ghostly figure of a little girl. Emma, the youngest of the Rivers, stared at her with empty eyes, whispering, "Help us." Tom, trying to calm Linda, heard loud footsteps approaching from the darkness. Out of the shadows appeared James, his face distorted with hatred and pain. He began to move closer, and the whole group felt the air around them turn icy. Attempts to escape were futile. The doors and windows slammed shut with a deafening crash, and the house turned into a maze of terror. The voices of the dead Rivers echoed everywhere, each step resonating with dread. Tom and Linda, running through the corridors, stumbled upon an old room with a circle of salt drawn in the center. They dashed inside and immediately felt the pressure ease. The ghosts surrounding them couldn't cross the circle's boundary. Emma's gaze was full of pleading, but every time Linda tried to step out, a cold whisper made her stop. They spent the whole night in that circle until the first rays of sunlight penetrated the dirty windows. With dawn, the ghosts vanished and the house's doors flung open. Tom and Linda fled, vowing never to return. They later learned that the house was cursed due to a horrific ritual James performed in hopes of eternal wealth. But the price was too high, and the curse remained forever, luring new victims into its grim embrace. Tom and Linda left Winterfield, but their nightmares never ceased. In every dream they heard the call, a whisper from the depths of the dark house, begging them to return.